deep, and that's pretty incredible to see that. As my lovely wife just said, I'm Shawn. I've known Chester for 26 years. He was a dear friend. He was my business partner. He was my bandmate. And just like you guys, you know, my world, my wife, my family, my friends' world, all in July 20th, our world changed, and not for the good. Many of you had never gotten the opportunity to meet or to know him, maybe the way that we had. But that's why I thought maybe it might be important for some of us here to kind of share our experiences with each other, to kind of get to know him a little bit deeper than just on a lyrical level, or what you saw, that amazing dude up on that screen right there, when every time he performed, he was just this Goliath of a rock star. But if you knew him on a personal level, he wasn't that guy in real life. He was a sweet, kind, gentle soul that was awesome to be around all the time. And of course, his stage presence was just amazing. One of the best rock stars I've ever seen in my lifetime. But I thought it was important maybe that I kind of read some of the stuff that I had the opportunity to say and share with some of his close family at his funeral, and kind of just read a little bit about who he was in my world, and share a little bit that with you. So I hope I can do that, and I hope you guys enjoy that. We had been rehearsing also for a couple weeks now. Ryan and Amir from Dead by Sunrise, and Mace from Grade A's. Of course, I was in Grade A's as well. And then Ryan and I actually were in another band called Bucket of Weenies, which is kind of some of you guys know that project. That was a lot of fun that we did. But so it was really important for us to kind of get together and play and share his music, that we had not only the opportunity to play with him, but to be there when he wrote it and kind of understand it on a really deep level. Unfortunately, we had some really huge technical problems last night and today, so I'm not going to be playing with the band today, and I'm sorry for those of you who are disappointed. Maybe you're not disappointed, but I'm disappointed because I wanted to play for you guys. But these guys actually have put some stuff together that they're going to come out and play, and I'll come out and talk a little bit more as well when they're doing that. But it's going to sound really good. Ryan's got an awesome voice. These guys are going to play a couple of great songs for you. Again, I apologize ahead of time for not being able to play with them. But, you know, there are over 6 billion people on the earth, and actually every one of us here have been blessed so fortuitously and are so inconceivably lucky to have been placed on the earth at a time with such an amazing and wonderful human being as Chester Bennington. I can still very much remember the day that I met him. He was 15 years old. He was a sophomore in high school. I had just gotten into college. I was a freshman, and we had recently formed a band, and we were looking for a new singer to join the group. One of our band members had mentioned he knew a kid that sounded just like Eddie Vedder of Pearl Jam. And at the time, this is 1992, that was cool. Eddie Vedder was like, if you had a singer that sounded like Eddie Vedder, you couldn't do anything better than that, right? So he said he sounded like Eddie Vedder when he sang, and he'd probably be a good singer for the band. The only issue was that he was two years younger than the rest of the guys in the band. So he asked him to come in, and when he came in for his audition, all of us were hoping, you know, basically that he might sound good enough to be in the band. And he walked into the rehearsal space, and he was not at all what I was expecting. He was not that guy. He was that guy, but he wasn't that guy yet. You know what I mean? And I remember thinking to myself, and quite arrogantly actually, and being disappointed with what I saw. And I thought, you know, this guy doesn't look like a typical rock star at all. But then again, you know, looking back, it's so funny that I have to remind myself of this. You know, he was anything but typical. And that was a good thing. I just didn't see it at the time. He was maybe 90 pounds, soaking wet. He had this really tight, curly hair, was wearing these really nerdy glasses. I thought to myself, oh man. I don't think this kid is what we're looking for at all. And he's laughing right now at me, by the way. He's telling me to fuck off, I know it. But then he began to sing, and my heart dropped into my stomach My throat dried up. It's drying up even talking about this moment. I remember it very vividly. Every note, every word was beautiful. It was at that very moment that I thought to myself, wow, this kid is unbelievable. And he has it. Whatever it is, this kid has it. And let me tell you, he had a ton of it. So he was by far the most talented of any of us in the group. And we asked him to join the band immediately. And for the next 8 years, Chester and I were basically inseparable. Inseparable in our friendship and in our quest to conquer the music industry together. There was no doubt in either of our minds that we were going to make it. We knew we were going to make it. I felt foolish for years that I had judged him by what I was looking at that day and not what was inside of him. I'm forever thankful for that lesson he taught me on the day that I met him. His mother, Susan, and his father, Lee, were initially concerned about letting their son participate in the music industry, but I gave them my word that I felt like he was my little brother, and I felt the need to make sure I protected him, and honestly did my best to do that. There were a lot of situations where I stepped up in the right moment, let's say. And those are some other stories that I won't share with you today, but maybe another time. He was clearly very talented. He was talented with many things, but he was so much more than a talent. He was honest. He was considerate. He was benevolent. He was unyielding in his convictions and the things that he believed were right. He would consistently stand up for the underdog or the little guy. And I can remember many times where we'd be out to dinner or we'd be somewhere and people were starstruck with him. Oh, Chester. And sometimes people can get quite rude and selfish in those moments because they want to meet their idol, and I get that. But then there'd be some little kid who'd get pushed out of the way, or somebody who had been waiting even longer than the person who kind of just barged in. And he would very politely say, look, I'll speak to you. Just give me a moment. I want to speak to this guy first. And I always thought that was awesome. He taught me to be a kinder person and really look out for other people. I really love that about him. Those were really the true gifts that he gave the world. He had an incredible voice, of course, and he sang breathtaking, awe-inspiring music that we will all remember forever. We will. Those songs will be with us when we're 70 years old. We'll be singing them. But he was also one of the kindest and most generous individuals I've ever met. He would literally give you the shirt off his back. As you can see in the picture right here, I guarantee you he had a shirt on before that photo and he gave it to somebody. He's that guy. He was that kind and giving and caring. He was unassuming, compassionate, and passionate about so many of the things in his life, not just music. He was always the life of the party and full of big ideas. And by life of the party, he lit up a room. No matter what was going on in that room, he would just kind of take it over. His presence was so much bigger than, 150 pounds and 6 foot tall. He owned the room when he walked in. And not because of his music, just because of his personality, his heart. He was thoughtful, he was loving and caring, and would take as much interest in a conversation with a high-level business person as he would with the guy who was washing his car, or even talking to an elderly man fishing at a lake, or speaking with a child building a sandcastle on the beach. He felt a true responsibility in helping others. And like I said before, he really made me want to be a better person. He was genuine, and he added value to those around him. He knew in order to make others feel that value, he had to make sacrifices. And he sacrificed so much of his time and energy in making others better. And that was actually something I had to check myself on. We would be hanging out. I wouldn't have seen him for months. We'd want to go out to dinner. We'd want to go play basketball, which most of the time he'd end up getting hurt and end up having to cancel a tour or something like that anyway. But then somebody would want his time while we were there. We'd be in the middle of a basketball game. People would be coming up wanting autographs or wanting to take photos. And I remember feeling myself, God, really, you guys got to do this right now? We're trying to hang out. But that was him. He wanted to give to everybody. And I had to remind myself of that. He's being kind. He wants to be the better person and give something to this person that's here right now. So I had to kind of not be selfish with his time, with my time around him. So those were some of the cool things about him. He really made me be, or want to be, a better person, rather. He made me reevaluate the way that I treat people on a daily basis. He lifted the spirits of those around him every day and made them believe that they could do great things. I rarely saw him without a smile on his face. He taught me a lot about myself and the way to look at the world through his music. He gave people hope, and he helped them understand that they were not the only ones in the world who felt a certain emotion or pain, and he helped them cope with their pain and their issues in their lives through his music and through his lyrics. And I believe one of the greatest attributes was that he made others believe in themselves by simply being nice and speaking to them. He made them feel like they mattered. And he made them feel like they mattered in a world where some of them may have felt they did not. And that was a very special thing to witness in person. I saw it many times, and it was always a beautiful thing. See some little kid, 12-year-old, meet their idol, and he talked to them and made them feel like they mattered in the moment. And that kid went away, and there's probably some of those kids, that kid in this crowd here today, I'm sure. It made them feel really good about themselves and that they could do something great. So maybe that is something that all of us can do going forward in our lives, and we can try to be as good as he was and as good as he was to others and help them cope with what they're dealing with. So we all know how immensely talented Chester was in the world of music, but he was so much more than one of the greatest rock stars that ever lived. He was indeed a wonderful father that loved his children with every moment and couldn't wait to see them every day. He was a great husband whose only want in life was to please his lovely wife, Talinda. He spoke of his love for her to me often and how happy he was that he married her. He was an adoring son to both his mother and father and beamed whenever he felt their pride in him and whatever he was doing. Chester was a fantastic business partner. Thora and I were truly blessed to have him as a business partner. He brought... Fame was almost the thing that didn't matter with what he brought to our business partnership. He brought a lot of great creativity, a lot of great ideas, and his story I had alluded to earlier. When we would take these business meetings, it was always nervous. At the funeral, I was actually speaking to Mike Shinoda about this. He says, you know, we used to take these business meetings, I never knew what Chester was gonna do, and I started laughing. I said, we have the same experience. He was this wild guy, and I used to be so pent up and so scared of what he was gonna say next. Thora finally calmed me down and was like, just let him be himself. So the next few business meetings we take, he would be we call him the monkey in the room. He'd be jumping on tables. He's extremely animated. For those of you who've seen him outside of the music world. And we just let him kind of do his thing, and we would just use that to our advantage. We say that this is our business partner. He's a crazy maniac. He loves to jump around the room and do crazy things. And but we loved it. That was actually very special to me. So he was a great business partner. He was a great band member. I put out 3 records with Chester. I toured with him. Loved him as a songwriter. He and I wrote a lot of songs together. And I know you guys are all huge Linkin Park fans, but I gotta tell you, there's a huge spot in my heart for the Dead by Sunrise album and the Grey Days records too. He really, thank you for that. He was great on so many, and STP too. I didn't get to know the STP album that he did as much as I knew the Dead by Sunrise material or the Grey Days and Linkin Park material, but he was good at just about everything he ever did. So I'm proud to say that he was my friend. Not a day is going to go by that I don't think about him. And Chester, I hope you have found eternal peace. I look forward to the day where I can hug you on the other side. You will be dearly missed. But I want everyone here to know how much he loved you guys, and I know that he knows how much you guys actually really loved him as well. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for coming to this event today. I hope it's been a good experience. We got a lot more to do. I just wanted to say thank you while I was up here. I'm going to go ahead and introduce a very close dear friend of mine, Ryan Shuck. He's going to come up and talk. He's got an interesting take, which I love listening to him talk. So Ryan, come on out here and give me a hug.